Kenai Beach in New Zealand. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2526. Today, where was your family when Canada became part of their journey? Today is July 1st, and we are honoring our Canadian friends and family and friends, because I do have relatives living in Canada. For Canada Day today. July 1st is Canada Day. So we're celebrating the Canadians today. If you don't like the Canadians, just tune out. It's okay. It's not a problem. I love the Canadians. I have very good friends who live in Canada. I also have relatives who are in Canada. And somewhere up in, I think it's up in the little islands at the top of North America, there's actually an island called Eakins Island. I'm not sure how that got named or anything else, but I'm researching it. It's been researched. So we decided to put Canada in there because it's Canada Day, but also there's a lot of people that moved from Europe and England and Ireland and Scotland and stuff into Canada. They just went across the Atlantic and landed in Canada rather than going to the US. Some of those that landed in Canada stayed in Canada, and some migrated south into the United States. I have come across many border crossing records of people who have come from Europe or the UK and Ireland and into Canada, and then eventually they may have stayed in Canada for a while, and then they've eventually moved down into the United States. Because one of the things it asked on the thing is how long they'd been in Canada before they moved, and so some have been there a few days, some have been there a few months, a few weeks, a few years. But moving to a new country is one of the biggest chapters in any family story. For many families, Canada wasn't always the final destination. Some arrived intending to stay, while others used Canada as a stepping stone before continuing on to the United States. Some remained for generations, while siblings, cousins, or children eventually settled elsewhere, creating family branches that stretched across borders. Yeah. So, but that's got you thinking now. Do you have anybody who came from Canada, came through Canada? Did they actually come directly into the US through like Ellis Island or one of the other ports of entry, or did they come in through Canada? Every journey had a reason. Some families were searching for work, others were looking for farmland, safety, or even the promise of a better future. They crossed oceans by ship, traveled by train across vast landscapes, or made the journey by road, carrying little more than hope and determination. Another reason that they would have gone up through Canada would have been if they were in the US and they decided to go up to Alaska during the gold mine, the gold rush that was up there, where they took ships into Skagway, and some of them actually traveled by land through Canada to get to Alaska, and then getting ships to take them onto Skagway, where they got off and went up into the Yukon, which again was Canada, to take part in the gold rush and things that were there as well. And those were some tough conditions. You want to talk about rugged conditions? Oh my gosh. But every journey had a reason. Some families were searching, I just read that, but I'm sorry. If Canada appears in your family history, take a closer look. How long did your ancestors stay? Were they just passing through? Did they settle in one of the provinces before moving on? Did they leave relatives behind who still call Canada home today? Those details often reveal fascinating stories that never made it into the official records. Whether Canada became a lifelong home or simply one stop along the journey, it played a part in shaping the lives of future generations. Every place our ancestors lived helped create the family story we inherit today. And I have to tell you, I love going to Alaska. But the last time I was, when I was last in Alaska, which was May of 2018, I'd flown into Vancouver, hopped on the ship, and the ship went up into hang on, let's do this here. So this is Alaska. This is the Inside Passage. These are the Kodiak Peninsula and the Aleutian Islands, and this here is Canada. The main part of Alaska. Mount McKinley's here, Fairbanks is up here, Anchorage is about here, and this is the Inside Passage. So if you're doing the Inside Passage, this is all you are doing of Alaska. This fits is bigger than the continental US. So we went up into the thing. We did jeepers, my brain is like scattered right now. Ketchikan, Juneau, and Skagway. And along the way, I did things I hadn't done the last time I've been in Alaska. So when I got to Ketchikan, we had previously done a bus tour that took us to a totem museum. We saw an bald eagle sanctuary, one of the most depressing places I'd ever been to, only because these beautiful, magnificent birds couldn't fly anymore. And there's two of them sitting on a log, just gazing at the sky, and there's nothing above them to stop them from flying out. Absolutely nothing. It's just no nets, no nothing. It's just clear blue sky above them. And the look of longing on their faces was just heart-wrenching. And then we saw a salmon hatchery where the salmon come and lay their eggs and then move through these different ponds as they hatch, and then they're released into the wild. We went to the state totem park, which was absolutely fascinating. That was the first time around. So we didn't get to see much of the actual town of Ketchikan. So this time I did the lumberjack show at the beginning and then wandered along until my heart was content, came across Creek Street, which you guys heard about the other day when we were talking about that, and many other fascinating things. When I got to Skagway, when I got to Juneau, first of all, there was like 6 ships in port. And we're talking an average of around 3,000 people per ship, just on the passengers. That doesn't even include the crew. So you had 18,000 people in Juneau on this one day, and it was crazy. I'm taking back roads. I wasn't even walking down the main roads. They were too clogged with people. You get to the Red Onion, which is the big saloon there, and there were people outside. There was probably about 30 people outside trying to push their way into the Red Onion while there's people trying to come out. And I'm just sort of like, you ain't going to get in there. And Brad and I, the first time we were in Juneau, we went to the Red Saloon. Somehow we managed to get in, and Brad somehow managed to find a table. It was a 2-top table, and people had written on the table. They'd written all on the walls and everything, and there were markers so that you could do that. Somehow the waitress found us, got our orders, and somehow got our orders to us. The wait staff in that place are absolutely amazing. They can find it. They can come take your order and they'll come back with it later on. And then we managed to get out. And all I did because Brad was 6'5", so I got behind him, held onto his belt, and he just basically plowed his way through the people till he found a table for us. And then when it came time to leave, I did the same thing on the way out, held onto his belt, and he walked on out. But then we went to that. But then Skagway, when we went there the first time, we went and did one of the live audience participation shows that were there that talked about Soapy Sam. Soapy Sam was like the Al Capone of Skagway, and talking about during Prohibition and all of that sort of thing. And then we did a bus tour that took us up the valley opposite the train track. So we could see the train that goes all the way up into the Yukon, and we just basically followed the road up. And I have to tell you, the border crossing into Canada was hilarious. There's just like, think of a toll booth, just one toll booth type thing sitting there in the middle of nowhere. It's got an arm on each side that can go up. And if you're looking at the toll booth, and this was Border Patrol. If you're looking at the Border Patrol, you look to the left and there's this big Welcome to Alaska sign there. And so the bus driver basically went up through the Border Patrol, did a big U-turn and came back down and sat in front of the sign and sat the bus in front of the sign. And he played photographer. So if you wanted a picture with the Welcome to Alaska sign, he's the one that took it for you. Then we all got back on the bus and we went back onto the road through the other arm to get back into Alaska, into the US again. But that was a very significant trail that we went on. It was a 2.5 hour bus ride. It was absolutely fantastic. The next time I was there, I went through the Settlers Museums, did a little more walking around Skagway and seeing the bits that I didn't get to see last time. And there were photos in their museum of looking across the valley of just a row of people going up to the gold fields up in the Yukon. There'd been this big gold rush. So the ships would come in, drop you and all your stuff on the beach, and then it was up to you to get your stuff up to the gold where the gold fields were, claim your stake on your land so you could have your building and everything else. And then you had to trek all the way back down to the beach and hope that your stuff was still there, because there was no way you could carry it all by yourself. And there's, like I said, there was this line of people all carrying big boxes and stuff. And if you fell over, they just kept on going. You had to get yourself up and get yourself back in line to follow this trail. But the hardship, and they were doing this all year, basically all year round. This one was taken in snow as they're going up to the Yukon, to the goldfields and all of that up there. And it was just incredible reading their stories about how they did this. And some people were lucky enough they'd get back to the beach, their stuff would still be there. And they might have to do 2 or 3 trips to get their stuff up there, and hope that their stuff was still there in the Yukon and nobody else had claimed their area. It was, I mean, the stories these people could tell about the hardships of having to go down and come back up again with another load. And you're going uphill the entire way with the loads. And when you come back down, you've got nothing with you. You're just going down to get the next load of your stuff and come back. And you'd also have to hope too that you had it above the tide line so that nothing came and washed your stuff away as well. But you had all your provisions, everything that you needed to go panning for gold was in your stuff that you had. So yeah, it was very different times back then. Some people would come up through the US and into Alaska that way, then catch the ship from one of the lower downtowns up to Skagway, where they could get a ship to take them up to Skagway so they could get all their stuff there and that sort of thing. And it was, I have to tell you, incredible stories. Then you got the people that were coming from, and that was on the West Coast. So then you had people on the East Coast that were coming over from Europe through England, Scotland, Ireland, and taking those ships that would then go and land in Canada. Maybe it was a cheaper fare to get into Canada than it was to get into the US. I don't know. Maybe that's why they chose to go to Canada. Maybe it was easier to get into the US if you came in through Canada rather than going directly into US ports. It's a gorgeous puppy out there running along. Absolutely beautiful. Can't see well. I haven't got my glasses on, so I can't tell you what breed it is, but it's tan and white. It's beautiful. And so there's all these migration stories. And then, of course, you got those that were on the East Coast who then decided to move west as well, kind of like in the US, starting on the East Coast and moving west for land deals and things like that. So there are some incredible stories of strength and endurance and survival that are out there for these pioneers that came into Canada, these people that came into Canada, some who stayed in Canada and some who went down to stayed for a certain length of time and then went into the US, or some that just stayed permanently in Canada. So in honor of Canada Day today, what is your Canadian connection? Do you have a connection to Canada? Excuse me. Connections to Canada. Excuse me. And what are they? What are your connections to Canada? Do you have relatives that live there? Excuse me. Got burps. Do you have ancestors who came in through Canada and maybe stayed there or moved down to the US? Do you have a connection to Canada? And let's go celebrate Canada Day today. So with that, hang on, I'm going to give you today's challenge. I totally forgot to give you yesterday's challenge. So here's today's challenge. Ask a family member whether Canada was ever a part of your family's journey. Did your ancestors settle there, travel through on their way to another country, or leave relatives behind? Find out when they arrived, where they came from, why they came, and what happened next. Record their story today because every stop along the journey is part of your family's legacy. And let us know about your Canadian roots in the comments below. And think about, you might even get people that go, I don't know if they came through Canada or not. We're not sure. Go research, go have a look, see how many generations you have. Sometimes you just got to go back to great-grandparents or second great-grandparents. Sometimes you got to go back a little further. But somewhere in there, there may be a connection to Canada. So what's your connection to Canada, if there is one? And with that, we are out of here. Go out, have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Hei konera.